two other elasticities that we can consider that are related to consumer behavior are the income elasticity of demand and the cross-price elasticity of demand. First, defining it, the income elasticity of demand, E, D, I, and C. That's the income elasticity of demand. The formula is the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in income this time, right? Notice that this formula does not have the absolute value around it. We're going to allow this value to either be positive or negative, right? And so we can think about, oh, okay, well, what would produce a positive outcome? A positive value would happen one of two ways. Either we could have a positive divided by a positive, or we could also have a negative percentage change divided by a negative percentage change. Either one of those is going to give a positive value. When we have the income elasticity of demand greater than 1 or greater than 0, we refer to that as demand having normal, being normal good. The income elasticity of demand is normal. If you recall from when we first talked about factors that can shift the demand curve, we said that normal goods are goods who have a direct relationship between income and demand, right? So we can think about, if we're thinking about the demand for a normal good, something like e-readers, if income increases, right, we said that demand is also going to increase, and increases in demands are shifts to the right. We could say for a given price, we know that quantity demanded is going to increase. So therefore, an increase in income, an increase in quantity demanded, positive divided by positive, is going to end in a normal. More than that, if we have the income elasticity of demand and it is greater, this should be greater than 1, then we have a specific name for those. We refer to those kind of goods as being luxury goods. Fundamentally, that any value greater than 0, normal goods. Any value that's greater than 1, it's a subset of the normal goods that we call the luxury goods. That number, the value of the elasticity, tells us how much the demand curve shifts. I even had it shifting to the left there, right? You could think about if income increases and demand shifts to the left, what kind of goods have that property? Those are things like ramen noodles and other goods that are inferior. From the definition, from the equation, we can see that how could we get a negative value? Well, we'd need opposite signs in my numerator and denominator. So it could be that my income increased and my change in quantity demanded was negative. Things like ramen noodles have that. Again, your income goes up. The things you buy less of, those are your inferior goods. Or conversely, when your income goes down, the things you buy more of, those are also inferior goods. So we've defined it, we've figured out how to classify it, and fundamentally on a graph, it tells us how much demand has changed. Fundamentally, this elasticity tells us how much. It's telling us the responsiveness of quantity demanded, this time to a change in income. Another elasticity related to consumer behavior is this cross-price elasticity of demand. This is going to be the story where we have economic substitutes and economic complements. This is the story when we're thinking about how one product is related to another product, how one market is related to other markets. The formula for the cross-price elasticity of demand, we've got two goods, goods X and good Y. Said demand elasticity. In my numerator, I've got the percentage change in the quantity demanded of good X, and in my denominator, I've got the percentage change of good Y. So I'm comparing two different goods, two different things about those two different goods, right? It's the price of good Y and the quantity demanded of good X. If you recall from economic substitutes, those two variables have a direct relationship, right? Economic substitutes. An example could be Coke or Pepsi. When the price of Coke goes up, you buy less Coke and more Pepsi. Increase in the price of Coke will also increase the quantity demanded of Pepsi. But what this cross-price elasticity of demand does, yes, if it's positive, it's going to tell us economic substitutes, but the size of that number tells us how much demand is going to shift, right? If it's a very, very small number, my demand curve will not move that much. If I have a very, very large cross-price elasticity of demand, it means that that reaction in the market demand, very, very large, producing a very large change in quantity demanded. Or we can have that when the price of a good goes up, the demand for its complement is going to decrease, right? Milk and cookies, the price of milk goes up, you buy less milk, and if you don't buy milk, no reason to buy cookies, that is your demand for cookies decreases. From the equation, we could say an increase in the price of good Y, reducing the quantity demanded of good X were to have opposite signs, negative divided by a positive, that's where my economic complements could come from.